All right, so we have a spreadsheet here, and we're going to demonstrate how to use a spreadsheet to do some calculations that you have in your lab. You might notice this table is showing the distance in kilometers from each planet in the solar system to the sun. The first two columns are in engineering notation. The third column is in scientific notation. Those are all the same numbers. It's just written slightly different. If you're not familiar with the big E, that is just representing times 10 to the. So scientific notation, for example, the distance from Mercury is 5.8 times 10 to the 7 kilometers. You'll see that E on a lot of electronic spreadsheets, on your calculator often, to denote scientific notation. So the big question we have is, how far are each of these planets from the sun? We have the distance in kilometers. We would like to know the distance in astronomical units. And if you see line 10 down here at the bottom, an astronomical unit is approximately 1.5 times 10 to the 8th kilometers. Now we're using that approximate value. That is not exactly, you guys have a slightly different, more precise number in your numbers that you're going to be using for the lab. So this demonstration that we're doing is showing you the process, how to do it. The numbers that you see are going to be rounded off from what you're doing. So when you do it yourself, you're going to get slightly more detailed numbers. You're going to share those numbers so I know that you did the process yourself. Okay, so very quickly, the process to do a unit conversion from kilometers to astronomical units, we need to know how many astronomical units is a kilometer. So you choose the kind of one, the value of one that you need in order to change your units if you multiply. So we have kilometers. We'll want kilometers on the top, and we want, sorry, misspoke there. So we have kilometers and we want AU. So we will put kilometers on the bottom, cancel out the kilometers we already have, and we'll put astronomical units on top. So the conversion factor, if you look at line 12, if we have 1 AU, we'll put that on the top of our fraction that's going to represent 1. And on the bottom, we'll put this number 1.5 times 10 to the 8th kilometers, because 1 AU divided by 1.5 times 10 to the 8th kilometers is the value 1. Now, if we multiply that by our distance to Mercury, for example, and we're going to be doing this same process over and over again with all of the other planets, we're timesing it by 1 divided by this number down in line 10. And timesing something by 1 divided by that number is just the same as dividing by that number. So our answer is going to be this number in D2 divided by this number in D10. Now we can tell our spreadsheet to do this calculation for us. So we're going to want our answer in cell E2. We're going to click there. In order to tell the spreadsheet to make a calculation, we want to start with an equal sign. You notice when I put that equal sign, it appears in the cell. It also appears up top in this formula bar. And that's how we know we're typing in a formula. We could type in the number. We can also just use a cell reference, which is type in the cell that you want it in, or if we just click on the cell that we want, the spreadsheet will understand us. So we want this distance to Mercury in kilometers. We're going to choose that. We are going to divide. So we type a slash, and we click on the cell down at the bottom that has the distance, what is 1 AU in kilometers. And so you see up in the formula bar and in the cell, it says D2 divided by D10. And then it has the answer up here. When we push the enter button, that answer is what shows up in the cell. So we've done our calculation. This is the answer. It's still in scientific notation. I'll show you how to change that at the end. You see this is times 10 to the negative 1. That's a pretty normal number that we don't usually use scientific notation for. Now, if we want to take this same formula and apply it to all of these other numbers, so first we wanted our distance from Mercury divided by the number of astronomical units. Now we want Venus, and then Earth, and then Mars. We're going to do the same thing over and over again. In order to do this quick and easy, we can just tell the spreadsheet to repeat. However, it's going to take the number in the cell and it's going to divide it by the number so many cells below it, whatever that number is. Now we want to use this cell D10 over and over again. So we're going to go back and we're going to edit our formula just a little bit to make sure that the spreadsheet knows that we want to use this number of how many kilometers in an astronomical unit over and over. So if we click on the cell, we can see up in the formula bar our formula that's entered into that cell. And right before this cell reference, D10, right before the 10, we're going to put a $sign. That tells it to use the cell 10 over and over again rather than trying to adjust to whichever cell is spaced properly from the cell we're using. And you see it also highlights the two cells that we are using for this calculation. We push enter. Now, this is the magic part. We take the cell that we like the formula on. You see the little blue box in the corner. We just drag it down. And you notice it's done the calculation for each of the other planets just that quick. We want to double check, make sure that it's doing what we think. So we could go down to Neptune and we could double click on the cell. And you see it shows us the formula and it shows us the two cells it's using to make that calculation. We could also use logic to double check this. How far do we expect Earth to be from the sun in astronomical units? Well, astronomical units are defined as Earth to the sun is one of them. So you see up here we have 1.00 times 10 to the 0. That's what we expect. That's the value 1. Now, if we do not like all this extra scientific notation here, because these are numbers, the whole point of converting to astronomical units is to put them in a format that's easy to use. Instead of having times 10 to the some huge number, we have nice, neat fractions and you know, numbers near 1 or near 10 that we can understand easily just by looking at them. So we don't like the format that sense. So we're going to go up here to the format menu. We're going to go number, and we can turn off the percent, probably just by pushing this number value here. And you see that these have all converted to regular kinds of numbers, not scientific notation. So this is basically the answer that you're looking for. Like I said, these exact answers are not the correct answers that you want to submit. What you're going to do is this number right here in D10, you're going to use the number that you have from class that has more significant digits in it. And so these numbers will be just slightly different when you do this yourself. But now you should know exactly how to do it in the quick and easy way on the spreadsheet. You can use the spreadsheet, including for graphing, if that's what you want to do for the rest of the semester. Thank you, and good luck.